Olá, bom dia e bem-vindo ao nosso canal Quinta, Fonte, Pipa.
Hello, good morning and welcome back to our channel Quinta, Fonte, Pipa. Sorry we didn't post a video last week. I'd like to explain a little bit about the court hearing that we had, but there isn't actually much to say. As we explained in the previous video, which you've seen already, about nightmares with the builders, we'll put a link up here. We accepted the house that we won from the builder, and when people in the village prior to that had started to tell us that the estranged wife had gone into the house and damaged it. So on the last day in court, we actually took the photographs from the estate agents regarding the house and held those up to the judge whilst we were actually in her private room discussing what we were accepting, and said that we would only accept the house if it was in the same condition as we had in the photographs. And the judge agreed to that. I actually had another problem regarding that day's court hearing, so I rang the court several days later and I spoke to a chap that works there, and he was the chap who was actually in the room writing down the minutes of the court hearing. Normally it's done by an audio tape, but this chap was in there handwriting it, and I actually noticed out of the corner of my eye that this guy was missing for most of our hearing. When I called the court, he actually said that I should complain to the court because he was doing the job of 3 people, and yes, he did leave the room, and no, he didn't hear half of what was said. So we kind of got screwed there, but it wasn't too important at that time. Our first lawyer who fought that court case with us, who I'm not going to mention his name, and I would certainly never recommend him to anybody. Apparently we signed a document at the end of literally 20 minutes after we were talking to the judge and accepting the house in this condition. We were told to sign a document. It's all in Portuguese. It wasn't explained to us. I can read Portuguese, but I can't read legal terminology in Portuguese. I'm pretty good in English law, but trying to understand long, complicated legal words in another language is something else, and it doesn't translate. Every document we were ever sent regarding the court case was all in Portuguese. Nothing was translated for us. We had to sit there and translate it, and Sandra spent 2 weeks typing out one document, and it was just a bunch of gibberish. You just couldn't work it out. Even Portuguese friends trying to read it and then explain to us what it meant, even they couldn't properly translate it, so we didn't really know. But the long story short is that apparently in this document, even though I just held up in front of my own lawyer and said I'd only accept the house in this condition, we'd signed saying, and on that day we won the entire court case for 100,000. Because we accepted this house and the builder had it on the market for 50,000 for 3.5 or 4 years, nobody wanted to buy it. We've had it valued, the house, at 20,000 euros. That's with it in fully normal condition, undamaged. We didn't realise until this court case that we'd only won 50,000. Somehow the judge had written down that we were awarded 50,000, but we accepted the house in full payment. So we lost 75,000 euros, just poof, just gone, just like magic, and we're meant to just suck it. So when we've gone back to court this time, and that's the main reason we've taken the woman back to court, we don't want to keep taking people to court, we didn't come here for that, but when you've lost that sort of money and then somebody smashed up what you've actually been given, you feel the right to hold them liable for it, which is what we tried to do. We've then signed apparently this piece of, it's then brought up on the day last week that we actually signed saying we wouldn't chase the woman for the rest of the missing money, and we accepted the house smashed to pieces. I mean, who in their right mind would accept a property that's been smashed to bits, especially when you've got no money left because you've already lost it? It's just nonsensical gibberish. So we've been well and truly screwed, and she's walked from court scot-free, and we've received 0 after another 3 years wait. I'm really fed up with the justice system out here, but I'm not going to let it destroy us. We're going to have to keep struggling through. and we're going to have to do it with zero money left. We ran out of money many years ago. We're not rich. We might come across on some of the videos that, I don't know, we might look like we've got money with the big tractor and we've got a big house and all the rest of it, but we sold absolutely everything we owned in England, our decent house and everything, and we've lost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of pounds, or euros, it's the same thing, and we just don't have it anymore. We lost 85% of our money because of the builder. So life's been a struggle ever since, and it's people like you watching our videos helping us, because unfortunately we make very little out of YouTube. I'd be lucky if I make 24 euros a week out of producing these videos, and when you consider they're taking 2 to 3 days for me to produce them, I'm not even earning £6 a day, you know, which is not good from our side of things. So we've got some very good Patreons, some very good people that follow us, and another thanks is to Gerhard, we've just noticed he's put a lot of money into our bank account, bless his heart. So Gerhard, thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. After what I've just explained, your money's going to go a long way to helping us, you know, make our way through the weeks and try and get things done. So unfortunately there's a bum start to the video. We're going to try and make the rest of it normal. I don't think we're going to be talking about our problems with the house anymore, because it's heartbreaking. Yeah, it's just too much, to be quite honest. It might look lovely and wonderful out here for everybody that sees your life in Portugal. Well, it is, you know, don't get me wrong, it is a beautiful place to live. But you can't live anywhere in this world when you're skint and you've got no money, and when you're trying to actually build and start your life with no money, it's 10 times harder, isn't it? Thanks to certain people that help support us because they like watching our videos. We appreciate it very much. There's only one thing we're not going to be able to do, which we were going to try and upgrade our, we've got a sort of a GoPro copy camera, and unfortunately, as a few of you have noticed, there's quite a lot of wind noise in the videos because it's got no external mic jack, and we were going to try and buy a GoPro with an external microphone fitting in it, and we're unable to do that now. So I think for a little while longer we're going to have to struggle through with the camera we've got until we can try and work something out.
And now for something completely different.
And today I'm going to try and weld up the steel frames for the doors here, because unfortunately the poor girls we've had to screw a couple of planks across the front of the barn here, which is where we keep the hay and the feed to keep the goats out, but with all the problems I had last week of trying to fence in our 2 males, I lost most of the week. So, and I think we're meant to have rain coming, but doesn't look like it. It's all blue as far as I can see, but hey, who knows out here, it can change like that. So I'm going to measure up the openings here, think of how I'm going to mount the door. I'm probably going to have to make some hinges, and then once we get the steel frame up here, I'm literally going to line the front of it with sort of like pallet wood, do it in a similar way that this pallet is made, and just have the panels and just have the pieces of wood separated ever so slightly for a bit of airflow through here, but close enough together that the rain won't come inside the barn. So get on and measure out this doorway. .145. Remember that for me, will you? Don't know if you can hear that noise in the background. Every now and again, that's Jeff. There you go. He's stuck in his compound, he can't get out, but unfortunately Stanley's still out. And we've got to get rid of him this week. So I've taken the measurements of this doorway. The other one's different. We made this one slightly wider for the entrance of larger bales of hay, and obviously that one is slightly, it's not much different, it's only like this. This is so we could bring bales of hay in without the risk of smashing your hands in against the door frame. And so this one's slightly wider than the other door, got the measurements for this one. Right, well, I've checked it's all square, and it is. So this steel is galvanised. It's not a welding video, but a bit of a tip. If you're ever going to weld steel and it's galvanised, it's a good idea to sand off the galvanised coating where you're going to weld, because it plays up with the welding sticks and you don't get such a good weld, and sometimes it can actually cause you to make big holes in it. So I'm just going to grind off where I'm going to go round here. And I've got special little magnets here for welding, which hold things at certain angles, like 90 degrees, like that. That tells me that that angle now is exactly 90. Square. Well, with any welding, it's important to get the power correct, because you either don't penetrate into the metal enough, which is it's not going to hold it very well, or there's too much power and then it blows holes through the steel, and obviously you've ruined your bit of steel. So what I often do is I use some of the offcuts just to set the welder, so I get a nice weld, I don't damage anything, and then I weld the main job. So that's what I'm going to do now. Well, as you've just seen the frame for the door that I've made, I'm going to need some hinges. So I've made my own here, and I've made those out of this steel bar that I've got. And you can buy these sections here, this piece here, the round piece with this pin. You can buy those in the shops out here, and that's how you make your hinge out here. So the pin goes through that. This piece will attach to the door, and obviously this piece will be screwed here to the fence, to the building rather, like that. And then this bit is the piece that swivels, that gets attached to the door you've just seen. So obviously they're made out of quite thick metal, because I don't want them bending, and they've got to resist the goats probably headbutting the door to try and get in and nick the hay. So we'll put those on the barn shortly. I've now got to cut the bit where my two fingers are that will come out of here to attach to the door, and I'm going to make that 8 centimeters long. And the reason I'm doing that, I'm just trying to think if I can show you. This piece of steel is the edge of the barn. the pallets finish here, and it's got some cement on the edge there to push the water away. This hinge is going on here, and it's going to sit like that, but the door is going to be here, and if I make it like a normal door, it won't pass this edge. So if I make that longer, instance like that, it'll open it and it'll come around and sit proud of the building. I'm sure it'll make more sense when I fit it and I actually show you. I've got the frame of the door made, and I'm going to use the same wood that I used if you've seen the videos that I made these sort of fake doors with. It's just cheap tongue and groove pine. It's about the cheapest wood I can get out here at the moment. When it's all slotted together, and the way that I've built the frame in the back of the door, the goats shouldn't be able to smash their head through it. So, and now all I'm going to do is paint the backside with the engine oil, the same as we painted the goat barn with, to protect it. Because I noticed on here, even though I varnished the doors on my shed here, once it rained, I don't know how it did it, because I painted all the edges of the wood, but it's swollen all the wood up and it's broken it. But so if I use engine oil, I think it'll work. So I'm just going to paint some of this on now and get this prepared, and then I'll show you in a few minutes of me mounting them onto the metal frame, and hopefully me fitting it to the barn. One less doorway the girls have got to block up with pallets at the moment, because we've just got over virtually a week of rain, which is absolutely brilliant because we've had none in 9 months, but it stopped me working. But hey, you can't have it all. My trusty one-wheeled workbench. Right, well now I'm going to screw the wood to the metal frame, and how I'm going to do that is with, well, I'll show you the packet. You can get these in most of the hardware stores around in Portugal, and the reason I'm using them is because they've got like a drill bit on the very end, and it will self drill into the steel of the frame of the door. So I've already pre-fitted this one because I want to make sure it's dead parallel to the frame of the door, and I chose the screws with countersunk heads, so hopefully they should sort of disappear and not stand out. There we go. And I've got Sandra painting. She's taken over from painting the oil on the frame. She finds it therapeutic. So let's get another piece. I've made sure there's oil inside the groove and the tongue's coated. I don't know if you can hear a dog barking in the background, but I don't know whose dog it is, but there's some dog hanging around close to our farm barking like crazy. Let's just hope he doesn't come on the farm. And I've put these bars at here at this height, because that's roughly the height that the goats, if they're going to headbutt the door to try and get in, that's the area that they're going to be hitting. There we go. They go in the steel extremely well, those screws, very simple to fit. There's the hinges. So right, let's get on and fit the rest of them. All screwed to the metal frame and painted. So now I'm going to take it up to the top and try and fit it to the barn. Now I'm putting the hinges I made onto the barn with coach bolts, and I've got them so they're long enough to go through this plank, and then I've got another strip of wood in the back to spread the load. I'm going to use the drill and a socket to... I've pre-drilled the hole in the wood here so these fat screws don't split it. And with everything.
It's in the packet. There's one in the packet.
Is there one? Oh, I was just going to say, normally they make these packets and they only put 3 in them, so you don't have to buy a second packet just for one more screw, but wow, things are looking up. And as I was explaining in the shed, I've made these hinges long so it passes the exterior of the wall. But it'll only open to there, but that's more than good enough for us to bring the truck down here and push the hay in. You see the hinges work. I'm not even holding the door, so the hinges work nicely. Well, I don't know if you can see the sand haze that we're all struggling with in Europe, but this is what the farm looks like today. You can actually smell it in the air. It's such a strange colour. And we're going to castrate this little boy this morning, so we thought as we... do you mind? As we went through a few of the few things about healthcare a couple of weeks ago in a video, now it's time to do the boys. We thought we'd show you how we do it. Right. What are you going to do?
Do you want me to hold him?
Yeah, just hold him down there. So, as we've said before, we use these little orange bands. Like that, and obviously you put these little bits through there and then you release it. First of all, we give him a dose of iodine.
Whoa.
And then you check you've got both, and there's one there and one there. Sorry little chap. And in about 10 days his little balls will drop off. On to the next one. Hello little man. Hello.
Horns.
Yeah. And I'd recommend wearing rubber gloves, which we run out of this morning because I'm going to be stained for several days now. I don't think he cares. Both. Only 8 more to go.